You spend months or years trying to make it work with a girl just to find out that she isn't capable of having a healthy relationship. How many of you had this happen to you? This happens to be a common problem I've run into in my practice where I help men with their mindset and with having better relationships and dating outcomes. Guys will come to me after being in a relationship, oftentimes for years, and things just aren't working out. And they're coming to find out or realize that the person that they're with just isn't capable of being in a healthy relationship. So, if this is a problem you've had, which I know it's a problem for a lot of guys out there, I have a solution to this problem. I have created this incredible tool that will help you figure out whether somebody is relationship capable or not. And so here's the thing, it's assumed, like guys will assume, well, of course she's capable of being healthy. Maybe she's just choosing not to be healthy, or maybe she's whatever. But during the honeymoon phase, when they're on their best behavior, you think, well, of course, she's going to be able to do it. Aren't all people just able to do it and they choose not to? Well, the the fact of the matter is that most women, not all women, but over 50% of women at least, are actually not relationship capable. They do not have the traits or the behaviors that would lend to having a successful long-term relationship or good relationship outcomes. That's the reality of it. Is that most men and women, in fact, do not have the traits or the ability to have a good relationship. And guys will waste tons of effort and time and energy and emotions, and they'll put all this into a woman who just turns out to not be capable. It's a common problem and it's very sad. And I have something that solves this problem completely. And I'm so excited about it. I'm excited to share this with you because for the first time, like in history, we have a tool available to solve this problem if you're willing to use it. And I'll explain exactly what that is. But first, let's get into the sticking points. So there are three sticking points that guys have when they're trying to figure out if a girl is going to be a good choice for having a long-term relationship and having good relationship outcomes. So the first is desire. Now, this is something most relationship psychologists and therapists, they don't really recognize this. People assume that desire must be there or else the woman wouldn't be there choosing the guy to be in a relationship. A woman certainly wouldn't marry a guy of whom she doesn't really desire or like all that much, right? Well, that unfortunately is proved to be wrong. Women all the time settle. And this is where, in the female dating coaching space, you have a lot of conversations, which are some of them are good conversations to women about not settling for a guy just because you don't want to be alone or because he meets some of your criteria. And they have this conversation because this happens a lot. Women often settle for a guy who they don't have the most desire for. There was somebody in her past who she desired more, had better chemistry with, had better sexual chemistry, or she just feels like she could do better. And if that is her feeling, and if she settled with you, your long term relationship outcomes are not going to be successful. Period. End of story. Now, the thing about desire is very subjective. It's based on her subjective experiences. And then there are behaviors that will show up based on her mental models, frameworks, and what those experiences are that she's had. So it's not easy to do a simple checklist for desire because desire is more of a subjective thing. Problem number two we run into is this girl the right match for you? Is she everything that you want in a woman? And is she going to be the kind of person that's compatible to you? Well, in my Alpha Mindset course and with my mastermind clients and elite clients, I have an exercise for them to do that solves this problem. It's a pretty easy exercise. I call it FedEx Yourself Your Perfect Woman. And the FedEx Yourself Your Perfect Woman exercise allows you to use your logical brain to figure out what it is exactly you want in a woman, what it is you don't want in a woman, and it helps you with making those choices. But then that leads us to number three, which there hasn't to date until now been a really great solution for. And number three is she capable? Is she able to be a healthy relationship companion? That is a question that guys will struggle with, and they will get into relationships with women not knowing if this is true or not, or thinking or assuming that it's true, only to find out later that she just isn't that person. The thing is, as men, we're not designed to vet this out very well, because unless you're a complete and total psychopath, which is not a good thing, by the way, if you're a normal person who has emotions and feelings for a woman, then what happens is those emotions and feelings kick in, your bonding mechanisms, that's a neurochemical response, kicks in, and it clouds your ability to use good judgment to see if a girl is a good, capable relationship partner. So this leads to all kinds of horoscope and magical type thinking, like red flags lists on the internet. Red flags lists on the internet, like this girl has too many tattoos or piercings, or this girl has a bad relationship with her parents, or this and that and the other. These are red flags. You should avoid her. That is a bunch of BS, unfortunately. It's horoscope level thinking. There's no data behind it. Some of it can be generally good advice. It's like a red flags list is okay to talk about, is generally good advice, but it's not very scientific, and it's not good at helping to vet out whether a girl is capable of being in a relationship that's healthy and happy or not. And the reason why is because what's behind the red flags? So she has a couple of tattoos. What's behind that decision? Maybe she had a bad relationship with her family, but she overcame that and she's a better person for it. There's all kinds of things behind these things, and you have to look into that. So it's not very scientific. When you follow red flags lists like that, it just lends to choosing women based on a list, and they turn out to be bad relationship choices. Or you discount good relationship choices. It's all over the place. And then you have things like your personality tests, which are no better than horoscopes as well. Your MBTI, or Myers-Briggs testing, is absolute horoscope. All these tests do will confirm your biases or beliefs about somebody or yourself, but they don't act as a predictive framework. So if your girl happens to be INTJ, for example, that tells you nothing as to whether or not she's going to be manipulative in your relationship, or whether or not she's going to get vindictive if she doesn't get her way. See, these personality tests really don't tell you anything, and they're not based in good science. Now, we do have the 5-factor model, which is a reliable trait identification tool, but their problem is there's some missing pieces with that too, which makes it not very useful for vetting out relationship companions, or whether or not somebody's good for a relationship. And the reason why is because the 5-factor model that covers 5 trait factors, it's based in data, it's based in research, and it's based in science and neurology, and actually mathematics to a degree, and language and linguistics, rather than based on just some sort of psychological theory and confirmation bias. So it's, the 5-factor model is much better than some of these other tests and some of these other ways of trying to assess a person. But the problem with that is it's just not complete for having a predictive framework or measure, because it doesn't cover where they land on the dark triad traits. So you have your dark triad traits of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. Where does somebody land with that? So somebody's assessment with the 5-factor model isn't going to tell you, for example, if they're going to cheat on you. Whereas we need a test, or we need some way of assessing somebody to be able to figure out what are the negative things or bad things that they're potentially going to show up with or bring to the table that will make them not good relationship companions. That's what you're looking for when you're trying to figure out if someone's capable of being in a good relationship or not. Are they capable of good communication? Are they capable of delayed gratification, emotional self-control, living life with certain levels of values? These sorts of things, even the 5-factor model, which is more scientifically based, doesn't really tell you. And that leads us to something called Hexico. So Hexico is an expansion of the 5-factor model. Hexico is designed to solve some of the problems with the 5-factor model, with the categories not being diverse enough and not and the five factor model not really being a predictive measure for bad behavior. And so the Hexico model, which is six trait factors, is actually designed to identify dark triads traits. Now we have something useful. Now we have something that is a predictive model that will tell us if someone is capable of being a healthy person in a relationship or not. So, and this is pretty recent, within the last 15 to 20 years that Hexico has really developed. But not a lot of people know about it, and it hasn't been applied to relationship science until now. So, what I've developed is an assessment tool to be able to assess if somebody is relationship compatible or not using the Hexico model. So, going through some different questions that you can use to assess the person that you're dating, the person you're in a relationship with, you can see where on the scale they land on these six factors and how that's going to show up and how that compares for healthy relationship behaviors. So, for example, are they going to be inclined to have good communication and emotional self control? Or are they going to be emotionally erratic? And are they going to use toxic communication patterns like defensiveness or criticism or stonewalling? These things are all built into this assessment. So now you have a tool that will tell you if she is relationship capable or not. Does she have the personality traits and the behaviors of somebody who is capable of being in a good relationship? And this is independent of certain personal values, like maybe a choice in religion or what her preferences for living her life, like if she's more of a homebody, or whether she likes to go out more, or whether she's more social, or whether she wants children and a family, or whether she doesn't. These are all more personal preferences that you're vetting out in that FedEx Yourself a Perfect Woman exercise. Those are more going to be personal towards your life, but they don't really lend to or talk about traits. For example, somebody could be a Christian in their values, and that's what they believe they are, but their personality traits could be completely toxic when it comes to relationship communication and handling problems, or handling themselves socially, or having good boundaries, and so on and so forth. So this trait analysis is designed to vet out, is this girl a good potential companion or not? And for the first time, you now have that, and I've developed that. Now, another potential problem, though, with this is that guys lie to themselves. All right, women and men, we all lie to ourselves. So when your emotions get involved, you tend to lie to yourself, and that could skew how you assess this person that's in front of you. So I added another assessment tool to go in with the Hexico based tool that I developed. And that tool is designed to be able to determine where someone lands on the scale of the dark triad traits. So now you have a tool to see where she lands as far as narcissistic behavior or psychopathic behavior or Machiavellian behavior. You have a tool that assesses trait identification, which are really not necessarily positive or negative, but just the traits that she has. We have a way of assessing whether those are going to show up positively or not. And we have a way of assessing whether or not she has negative traits and how those negative traits are going to show up using psychological analytical tools that they use to determine where somebody lands in the dark triad traits. Now, none of these are diagnostic tools for a psychologist. This is just for you, the guy or the end user, to be able to determine, is this woman capable? And to have that awareness of whether or not she's going to be capable of being in a healthy long-term relationship or not. And again, guys tend to want to lie to themselves, but now it's a lot harder to do that because, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you run the model and you find out that you believe, based on the way that you answered your questions, that she's 4 out of 5, 5 being the best score you could get. 4 out of 5 is great. That means she's capable of having a healthy relationship. But then you move to the dark triad side and you find out that she is 3 out of 5 on dark triad traits. Well, those two things don't match now because I've designed the test where they work in conjunction with each other. So if she's getting a higher score on psychopathy or Machiavellianism, then she's obviously going to be missing something when it comes to positive traits that would lend to having a healthy relationship. So if a guy is trying to get awareness of a person and he rates her high as being capable, but then finds out, wait a second, when I do this assessment and ask myself some of these more negatively based questions, I'm finding out that really she has a lot of negative behaviors. That tells a guy, uh-oh, I must be lying to myself. I must be being delusional based on my emotions for this person. And it gives them something to look at. Now, if someone is absolutely determined to lie to themselves, well, I mean, they're going to lie on both tests and it doesn't really matter. And I guess that's up to that guy, right? But most people who come to me for coaching are accountable to themselves to some degree already, or they wouldn't be showing up. And they're willing to ask themselves hard questions and they're willing to challenge their beliefs and egos. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hiring me to help them do better in different life outcomes. So, for the guy who actually has accountability in his life and who can think reasonably instead of emotionally and can bag his ego and assess things in an objective way, this tool is going to be the gold standard. I feel like we just discovered fire, or I don't know, we just discovered electricity or something. Like, this is a big deal. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very happy and excited about this tool. Now, of course, you know, as things move on, if I ever become more popular or whatever, and we can put this to more research and put us towards, you know, clinical trials in universities, and we can make improvements on the model. But the 1.0 model is pretty damn good and it's a good start. So now finally you have a tool. It's you there's no more guessing. When you're dating somebody, when you're in a relationship with somebody, if you spent a little bit of time with them, you're going to be able to do this assessment. Oh, and the assessment only takes like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's not something that is hours and hours. You know, I mean, it's not to say that if you're making a long-term relationship decision that could affect the rest of your life, spending hours on it isn't unreasonable. But the reality is people just won't do that. They want a simple, easy to access tool. Well, this is a simple, easy to access tool. And it doesn't mean all relationship problems are solved just from this one tool either, but it's a start. You know, at least if you're solving relationship problems with this person and with yourself, with your frame, your game, your communication skills, with her, and maybe some conflicts you guys might have in some of your beliefs or values or direction, these problems can be solvable if a person is relationship capable at the very least. And a lot of guys waste so much time, energy, emotion, and effort trying to solve relationship problems with somebody who just isn't capable. And so this tool solves the problem. Now, you got to get into my community at school. Getting into the community is free. There's a link in the video description. You will not have access to this tool, at least not as of yet, unless you're a mastermind member or an elite member. That's just the way it is. I can't give away everything for free. So you need to be a mastermind or elite member. You'll have access to this tool. It's going to save your ass. It's going to save your life. Maybe at some point and someday I can offer this for in a different way, but for right now, this is the way that it's offered. Okay. So if you want access to a tool that could save you so much effort, time, energy, and give you direction while you're in the dating market, give you an assessment to whether or not this wife or girlfriend or this person that you're with is worth continuing with, because maybe they are and maybe they're not. Maybe the problem is you and not even her, right? We don't know, though, if you can't assess and figure out if this girl is capable of a healthy relationship or not. We can't. And so now we have a science-based tool that I've developed that will give you that answer. I'm so excited about it. I'm happy to share it with you. If you're one of my mastermind or elite members, guys who are mastermind or elite members, it's in your classroom right now. You just need to go to your classroom, go to your documents where I share all the stuff about all those different documents, dread, sexual skill, all the things that are there for you guys in my coaching groups. You guys will have access to this assessment. It's a simple tool and it's going to save your ass. And again, if you're not in any of these programs, you need to get in my community and send me a DM and we can talk about making that happen for you.